A lot of things in life can be hit or miss, like choosing the right secretary. In Fallout New Vegas, its most literal sense leads us to accuracy, or the lack of it. Some enemies simply jump at you as if they were acrobatic belly dancers, and some weapons, like the sniper rifles, can feel really good to use but might also wobble a bit. What if you had to finish the game with perfect marksmanship? This challenge was recommended by a fellow challenge YouTuber, Causal Loop. So I invited him to go over the rules.
The rules are as follows. You can only use guns, no explosive weapons or explosive ammo. Every projectile you fire must hit an NPC. If a projectile misses, you have to load a previous save. You cannot use VATS or anything that slows down time, such as turbo. And finally, no companions are allowed.
There we have it. And so, can you beat Fallout New Vegas without missing?
The game was rigged from the start.
A tickle to the brain and a weird dream later, and the courier has developed godlike accuracy, something that I, unfortunately, haven't. The stats I'll be working with are 18 agility and luck, 6 in strength, perception and endurance, 5 intelligence, and 1 charisma. In terms of skills, I tagged guns, lockpick, and sneak, and took on build to destroy and early bird for the traits. Doc Mitchell then subtly invites me to move back out, since I did crash uninvited for about 2 weeks to begin with. But he also kindly lets me take pretty much everything he owns, so if it seemed valuable, it's now in my pocket. He also gave me a Pip-Boy, and I went on to meet Victor.
Howdy, partner.
I thanked him for masterfully crafting the most important window in the apartment Benny gifted me, and so the journey of the anti-stormtrooper begins. With looting the whole town of Goodsprings, stimpaks, money, ammo, magazines, commie propaganda that improves sneaking, star caps, a weapon repair kit, fission batteries, a lucky stealth boy in an ammo container luck, and plenty of moonshine. I then sold the things I didn't need to chat, got me a shovel, and went into the saloon.
Cheyenne steak.
Sonny then gives me a locksmithing magazine and a couple bobby pins for us to try our luck in the safe that Easy Pete found too hard. But first, she's gonna teach me how to shoot. 3 bottles of Sunset Sarsaparilla later, and 3 bottles later, and she asks us to tag along and patrol the area for geckos. So I equipped a lightweight leather armor, a pre-war hat, the weather 10mm, and accept. The first couple geckos were pretty easy actually, but there are 2 more wells to secure. And in the second I get a tiny taste of what a causal loop actually is. 3 attempts it took me on the last well, and also on the 3rd attempt. I started to realize quick saves are gonna be my best friend during this run. We successfully rescued a settler that came here to get water, and to thank me, she gives me all her water. Apparently, I looked thirsty. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, why the fuck did you come here to get water if you're not gonna bring home any? Sunny, she then insists on teaching us how to live off the land and tasks us with getting brock flour from the graveyard and xander root from near the schoolhouse. Now, the one thing I never expected was just how goddamn hard this Tahira mantis when you're actually trying. They're hella small, they don't stop moving, and most importantly, no one has ever clicked on anything I've done because of my accuracy. Until now, and so far it's more on the luck of it, but hey, I'll get better. And what felt like 4 times the amount of mantises later, and we got some more goodies. I got me the magazines, and most importantly, that sweet stuff boy. Next up, the cemetery, which after Sunny's tutorial is now infested with critters. I took down the tiny bark scorpion first try, and only finished all the bloat flies on my 4th attempt. They are not chunky enough for this, and they jitter around as if they were living caffeine overdoses. But alas, I got Goodsprings snow globe, bid farewell to the old apartment, gathered the brock flower, and desecrated every grave I could for ammo. And then I went back to Sunny.
Let me see what you got.
2 clicks were enough to showcase Sunny that I am now the Gordon Ramsay of the Mojave, and before I could leave, she asked me a favor.
Do me a favor.
Specifically, to introduce myself for, the kind of the town mom, Trudy. But on our way back, it's actually Barton Thorne that introduces himself to us. With a posture that's gonna give him early back pain, it's quite unfortunate to know that his girl has been trapped by geckos, and that he cannot get to her. We should help. cause otherwise she's going to die. So, 3 cuddles to whatever lobes the hits landed upon, and this lying pile of Mojave fertilizer won't lead anyone else to their deaths. This was enough to reach level 2, I put the points into lockpicking and took the confirmed bachelor perk, cause those 10% extra damage against the most common NPCs are really gonna come in handy. And then, a slow campaign against the geckos Barton mentioned began. And not cause I was just stormtrooping it, but more than once I actually hit them but thought I didn't, so yeah. If any of you want to try this challenge, for the love of God, look up some HUD or UI or whatever mod to help keep tabs on it. I guess you could say this is where the causal loop begins. Cause seriously, if you think that missing easy shots is the main issue, oh boy. It was only when I was editing the footage that I noticed I was reloading a lot more than I needed to. And it was actually a double-edged sword, cause either I was looking at the enemy's health and the damage resistance didn't make the health bar move, or I'm looking at an NPC that I think I didn't hit only to realize later that the health bar dropped a bit. So by the eighth attempt, I finally took care of the last one and quietly wondered if maybe Barton wasn't lying, cause either way I look at it, there's a high chance that Barton sent someone here not that long ago. Atop the hill, I found some more leather armor and another 10mm, which is gotta be great for repairs. And before going back to the saloon, I decided to go over the 2 obscure locations Goodsprings has to offer. I took care of the 3 coyotes first try and went into Goodsprings cave, where more of them awaits us. And the reason we have so many dead explorers over here is cause as Sunny explained regarding Doc Mitchell treating gecko bites, yeah, people often survive geckos. Coyotes, not so much. And then I found a plasma pistol. This early. Quite interesting. I'm not really planning on focusing on energy weapons, but I'll take it. On top of the cave, and after a couple more coyotes, we finally descend the Devil's Gullet, Goodsprings Sinkhole. I take care of the last coyote, get some more ammo, another star cap, and some Hydra. And since I'm on an exploring mood, I'm gonna go to the abandoned shack to get some more goodies, and then to the Yangtze Memorial, where the hollowed out rock had for me a metal spoon. Ah yes, Courier 6 metal spoon. No, I left it there. The Rat Scorpion went down in 3 hits, and the middle burial mounds, even more than usual, had plenty of decent loot. Back in the saloon, and Joe Mama is done being nice.
I'm done being nice.
I then introduced myself to Trudy, and she explains that about a week ago, Ringo came to town, saying he has Batman after him. For some reason though, she took that as him simply being in shock after surviving an attack, and is now on full surprised Pikachu face. She tells us that Ringo's holed up in the gas station, and so I go there to meet him and to loot some more.
That's close enough.
I found an early sledgehammer. Unfortunately, I won't be able to use it on this run, and then I offered Ringo some help. He tells me that just the 2 of us wouldn't be much of a force to be reckoned with, and to try and get some of the townspeople to join in.
Say no more. I'm in.
Sunny's immediately on board, as she recognizes that the powder gangers won't just be after Ringo, but eventually the whole town itself. I also managed to get Doc Mitchell to cough up some extra stim packs, but I couldn't get Chet or Easy Pete to help in any way, shape or form. Trudy, on the other hand, was easy to convince, and she promised to gather some extra folk to defend the town. This was enough to trigger level 3, I once again put points into lockpick, and went back to Ringo to tell him the good news. And then, Sunny came with the bad ones. The powder gangers have arrived. I waited for Ringo to leave, stole the 9mm ammo amidst the brain farts as if it would fit on my 10mm. And as I was getting into position, here comes Malcolm Holmes and the audacity of this bitch. He warns us about Alan Marks, but New Vegas being extremely playable, I know that Alan is quite dead. So, I just gently remind Malcolm that I don't like being stalked at all. And then I took his 6 star caps for good luck. And then some of the powder gangers start shooting, while others go full stabby while saying bruv. Wanna guess how many attempts this one took? I'll give you a couple seconds. 12. Now, it would have been less if, once again, I wasn't reloading after not realizing that I'm actually hitting them. But it would also been less if Joe Cobb didn't randomly start portraying Sonic's agility. Anyways, and with that out of the way, we're now idolized by the town of Goodsprings. I get a 3rd stealth boy, and Ringo thanks us with all the caps he had in hand. He also invites us to stop by the Crimson Caravan Company later so he can double the reward he just gave us. So yeah, we'll go there eventually. I then sold some more things I will need to chat. We now have over 2,000 caps. I took a nap to replenish my health and went into Gene skydiving. I was so eager for some of that precious Fallout loot, except I didn't really find anything useful. We did get another star cap, even though I won't be doing that quest, they're just fun to collect. What I'm gonna do though is deal with every single powder ganger that shoots on sight, cause I don't like being shot on sight. Reasonable, right? 2 headshots, some dynamite, and then I went north where we found some more of these idiots, but most importantly, I also found some more leather armor that'll be useful for later repairs. The third powder ganger also went down first try with 1 hit. I found a magazine and slept for another hour. However, this triggered another 2 assholes to show up, and my aim's really improving. Finally! Before reaching Sloan, there were still a couple coyotes and the last 2 powder gangers, and even though I had to reload once on the coyotes, I kept on having perfect accuracy against the powder bros. The dead bright follower in the underpass only had a recharger rifle, and eventually we reached Sloan.
There are death claws all over the damn place north of here.
Chomps warns me about the death claws up north, and I'm gonna heed his advice. The reason I came here was to read a medicine magazine, and to go over to Snuffles! She's a cutie, and we can heal her leg. We can also go into the mining office to get a bunch of caps. I then tell Chomps the good news about Snuffles, and that's enough to give us some NCR fame. Back south, near Gene skydiving and a couple more powder gangers are still extremely pissed about Cobb, so in a gesture of empathy, I give him a one-way ticket for them to go and greet him personally. Right after, a couple young gecko hunters were pissy because the commotion woke them up, so I put them to sleep. And approaching Primm, an NCR trooper tells us that the town's off limits, since the great NCR can't even deal with a couple escaped convicts. So let's show them how it's done. I disarmed the frag mines, went to the first escaped convict and, damn it, second attempt wasn't the best either, so by the third I simply stopped pointing to his head, cause it's easier to not miss their torso. As for the other dude, I just had to tank a couple shots and he went down pretty quickly. I then greeted Courier 4, Daniel Wyand. He didn't have the best of times in Primm, it seems. And right after I show him the delivery order number 6, and he tells me that the package we were supposed to deliver was a job that had strange written all over it, but that they couldn't turn it down for the caps. I get it, I like money too. The only bit of good news being that the man we're looking for has indeed passed through town, but since nothing is ever that easy, we're gonna have to ask more about that to Deputy Beagle, who's being held hostage by the convicts that took over Bison Steve Hotel. I guess you could say that even though they shot the sheriff, they didn't kill the deputy. To the hotel. I took down the first couple guys pretty easily, and that was enough to bring me to level 4. I kept on putting points into lockpick and took the comprehension perk. In the hotel shop, I grabbed the Tales of a Jerky Junktown vendor skillbook for some extra barter points. Took down another convict, used lockpick to get closer to the area where the deputy is, and then... Then it took me 13 reloads to mow down every single last one of them in this floor. Some attempts were mildly infuriating, but I can always avoid reloading by not missing in the first place, so... Yeah, I know. Let's just meet Deputy Beagle.
I don't suppose you came here to rescue me. I'd cross my fingers, but my hands are numb.
I asked him about Benny, and instead of outright saying it, he'd be more than glad to share that info with me after I set him free.
No need to rush on my account. I lost feeling in my hands and legs hours ago.
Oh, since he wants to be cheeky, 2 can play that game, so I just used a 5-finger discount to get the holotape from him. I did set him free right after, but I'm gonna be doing things my way, not his.
This is most unusual.
Before leaving Primm, I looked on every single mailbox, but only one had a magazine, not the best RNG. And as I kept going south, I decided to explore a bit more. I found another couple convicts, I had to reload against the second one. And then came the Jackals, near the Nevada Highway Patrol Station. Turns out that trying to snipe them down was... extremely stupid. Or rather, that I might as well have titled this, Can You Beat Fallout New Vegas as a Time-Traveling Stormtrooper? Either way, I got my shit together in the 4th attempt. Took down the Jackal gang leader and went inside the station for another disappointment sesh. 7th tries the charm after all. I got me some more leather armor and a stim pack. Oh, and there's a bunch of mantises too here. Right, I forgot. Somehow, that only took 2 reloads. I got another star cap, a couple unique cards, repaired my armor, and went on to the nearest location. The red scorpions were a bit more bulky than I remembered, but walking backwards, paired with shooting forwards, worked wonders. 3 reloads and a poison death in between later, and in Nipton Road General Store, we got yet another star cap. I then went to the Mojave outpost, sold some more things I didn't need, this time to both a traveling merchant and to Lacey. Turned back, saw a giant red scorpion and thought, not today, demon. Nah, but actually, the detour is for something else, so... 5 reloads and a horde of ants later and we reach Jackrabbit Springs. And over here, if you outrun the centaurs, which is extremely easy, you can find a stash of ammo with a guaranteed weapon repair kit and Stealth Boy. And right before reaching Nipton, Thomas and Jacqueline are doing their usual tug of war to see whether Jacqueline can steal Thomas's star caps, or if Thomas will live never being able to trust someone again.
Did you see that? That crazy bitch just attacked me out of nowhere.
He then goes on to explain that she's been fake flirting with him to try and get his Lucky Charm necklace and that she attacked him out of nowhere. That necklace being made out of 6 star caps, and I kinda want it, so I got it. But I also got his leather armor and 10mm for future repairs. That triggered level 5, I got lockpick to 80 and dumped the rest of the points into guns. And who won the lottery? He did.
Who won the lottery? I did!
Shut up, Oliver! I took his lottery tickets and went into the Nipton General Store, where Boxcars got 2nd place in lottery.
First I get my leg smashed, and then in walks the Powder Ganger's Grim fucking Reaper. What the fuck have you got against us, man? Jesus fucking Christ! If you want me dead, just give me 15 medics and I'll fucking OD for you, okay?
So, I'm not gonna give him my medics, but I did shoot him in the knee, just to make sure he wasn't lying, you know? And suddenly, lo and behold, I performed a miracle. Dude can now run like... Oh. Let's forget what happened here. Anyway, I shot another Powder Ganger, took a nap, and went on to discover that the Powerball has been arranged by a furry and his skirt buddies. He tells me his work here is done, that I have nothing to worry about, and tasks me with spreading the word of what happened to the town of Nipton. And then I shot him, but things didn't really work out. Well, they did in the long run, as things do, but you know what I meant. Actually, you don't. Care to guess how many tries? 11 reloads. Before I remembered to try out the plasma rifle. That's not all, by the way, but let me trace back. 11 reloads means 12 attempts. And that was just for Vulpes and 2 mongrels. So a Steampack session, 2 deaths. Plus 12 reloads on top, and that brings me to 26 attempts total for Vulpes and his boys. Oh, brother. I then looted what I needed, managed to avoid both the ambush and the red scorpions from here until Wolfhorn Ranch, got the map marker, and that's when I remember about Vulpa's task. Apparently I failed the quest, but I don't know if that's just for experience or fame, so I go back to the Mojave outpost and go to Sergeant Kilbourne, where I don't see a single dialogue option for me to let him know. And trust me, the NCR would like to know. But alas, I fast traveled back to the ranch, found a mole rat before Camp Searchlight, and once again, the NCR has a warning for us.
Hang on there, traveler. You'll want to steer clear of this place. The whole town's irradiated to high hell.
And not just that, but he recommends we go to Novac instead, which is exactly where we should go to keep our hunt for the man that shot us. But first, I've got a couple things I'd like to do, like reloading thrice for fighting gold troopers. Troopers, not troopers. They're not going through anywhere. Anyways, with low health, and before going to Cottonwood Cove, I went to Sniper's Nest. Got me another star cap, some 308 ammo, spent the night, read a lockpick magazine, and what's this? Is it my favorite non-DLC sniper rifle in the entire game? It is. I was so happy I gave Anders a taste of what's now to come, and that was first try as well. I then went to Cottonwood's Overlook, opened a conveniently placed trailer door right on top of the cove and invited a family of highly irradiated barrels of nuclear waste to resettle closer to the beach. And the way this event is scripted is that anyone that roams the cove will start running towards them and get an insta-kill. Now, the ones who cannot run towards it also get an insta-kill, but seeing them drop like flies is beyond absurd. In a funny way. Unfortunately, I just deprived myself of hearing Mrs. Weathers asking, "When will we be free?" I know, it's sad, man. But at least she won't have to wander anymore. And by looting the town, I found even more 308 rounds for the gobby. Got Aurelia's Centurion helmet and some Legion patrol notes. There's also a unique unarmed weapon, Recompense of the Fallen, but since it's unarmed, all I can do with it is to sell it later. Back to Aster, and he is quite pleased to get his hands on those Legion documents. And this, it's so worth the 1100 XP. And now, we're accepted by the NCR too. This was enough to reach level 6. I put the points into guns since we're gonna need 75 to use the gobby at its full potential, and took the educated perk. On the way to Novac, I get interrupted by an NCR ranger. He offers me the emergency radio, and I notice that he too is going in Novac's direction, so I decide to follow him. He takes care of a mole rat, and then an NCR ranger gets obliterated by a recruit legionary. Just the one. Right after, I see some vipers on the distance, so I put the gobby to the test. And this is exactly what I expected this run to look like. I missed twice against one moving target, but everyone else went down as if I had taken the bloody mass perk. In Novac, I couldn't find a doctor in her tent, so I went on to meet the McBrides, because they have an amazing unmarked quest. Dusty and Alice, they have their ranch consistently being attacked at night. They're now down to less than half of their pack, and the weird part is that this isn't an animal attack. They hear gunshots, and the next morning, they notice only one animal dies. The strange part is, nothing else happens. They just find a gunned-down Brahmin with bullet holes. Dusty also mentions Novark's theories, but doesn't elaborate. I offer to help out, but since it's still the middle of the day, I keep on looking for Dr. Ada Strauss, who for some reason is at the edge of town. I ask her to heal my radiation poisoning, and she thinks she's funny.
Are you sure? You won't be able to read in the dark as well?
Okay, she is funny. Then we find Novark.
Who sent you? I ain't talking. Confounded Novark, you done it again.
So, what's happening around town?
There's been things of a disturbing nature going on at the McBride Corral. Seems every night one of their herd meets a most unnatural death. And always there's holes all over the body. Work of the chupacabra, the livestock vampire, says Novark. But they don't pay no mind. Too many holes, they say, and there's bullets in them. Well, says Novark, we got a chupacabra with an automatic weapon. And that's when they get real quiet, because now they see the predicament we're in. I come face to face with the chupacabra himself one night, whilst I was investigating whether this gecko was hiding his treasure from me. He was the meanest, ugliest chupacabra you could imagine. Had 2 heads and fangs down to the ground. Best I could tell anyways, since when he come up to me, he was invisible. Had himself a blunderbuss, what would rotate and shoot bullets real fast out of a backpack. Never seen nothing like it. Walked right past me having an argument with somebody. But I only saw one chupacabra, so I guess the other fella had to be invisible too. Only more invisible than the other one.
That's incredible. And near the Dinobite gift shop, we find Victor?
Well, butter my butt.
Are you following me?
Seeing how this is the only road around, I'd be a sight more surprised if we didn't run into each other from time to time.
Okay. I then sold some stuff to Cliff Briscoe, repaired my 10mm and my leather armor, equipped the Centurion helmet, and went on to meet Manny Vargas. I asked him if he's seen a man in a checkered suit, and sure enough, he has. He even knows about the platinum chip. But instead of helping a stranger in need, he instead would like to have me deal with an unreasonable amount of both ghouls and nightkin. And I could have just used the confirmed bachelor perk, but I've got something much more interesting in mind. After nightfall, I approach the McBride's ranch and find a nightkin with a minigun. And that thing is sturdy, but this is completely doable. although it was the third time to be the charm. Soon as I got that to be over with, I reported back to Dusty, and listen to this.
Well, I don't know how you've done it, but I do know how I can thank you. Please take this, compliments of Alice and myself. And help yourself to anything in that freezer over yonder. We got more steaks in there than we'd be able to eat in a year.
I love this quote, man, because first off, they don't have a freezer. It's a refrigerator. And second, how the hell can you survive on less than 10 Brahmin steaks a year? It's a couple. Either way, we get accepted by the town, and then I go on to meet Boone, who's got the most justified case to not trust anyone other than a stranger that I've ever seen or heard. Especially in hindsight. His pregnant wife was sold to slavery. He managed to track down the slavers, and knowing he couldn't take them all down as a sniper, and for mercy, he gave her a kiss goodbye from afar. But since we're not from here, we are pretty much the only person he can trust. So, he asks us to try and find anything regarding who did it, and lends us his beret. In the event we find them, we bring them in front of the dino and put the beret on as a signal for him to shoot. And in the dino little front desk, we find a locked safe, and in there we discover a bill of sale. This led me to level 7, I put more points into guns, and the culprit is Jeannie Mae Crawford. So obviously, I invited Manny for a walk.
That's it then. How did you know?
I just think it's stupid that I cannot give the bill of sale to Boone even after deliberately misleading him, to be honest. Also, Manny could have been kind to me, and I really needed Manny's holotape, so now we know that Boulder City is our next stop. But on our way there, a squad of Legion assassins weren't too pleased about me having had Cottonwood Cove cosplaying as a microwave. Took me 6 tries, so 5 reloads, but I only have myself to blame. Cause even though they were the strongest enemies I fought as of yet, now I have the Gobby. I repaired my armor, I have enough steam packs, and I kinda missed some really silly shots from up close. I kept on going and saw another group of Vipers on the distance, and one of them's got a grenade launcher, so it's sniper time. I missed the first 3 shots, and then I got the job done in one go. Right after, I got to the El Dorado gas and service, took a quick nap, and found the lonesome drifter. And I refuse to take blame for this miss. That was obviously New Vegas being New Vegas, come on! I also really wanted his guitar. I like guitars, and I liked a Mysterious Magnum too, so yeah. In Boulder City I do some target practice to raise my morale, and go on to meet Private Kowalski.
Here to pay your respects too?
It's more of a promise I made on a previous run.
What the fuck are you doing? My brother died at the Battle of Hoover Dam. You're desecrating a war memorial.
Oh, you're a little bitch and your brother was too.
Oh, now it's on.
2 gentle taps later, and Lieutenant Monroe's got a situation with a certain group of cons. The same ones that were escorting Benny when his trigger fingers had me sleep for 2 weeks. So I offer my help to the NCR and go on to confront them.
What the hell? You're that courier Benny wasted back in Goodsprings. You're supposed to be dead.
Yeah, well, I got better. I then ask about the platinum chip, and that's when Jessup lets out that Benny backstabbed them and took it. Now, I don't really have the stats for a peaceful resolution, but I reach level 8, get guns to 75, which was my goal for the skill, and put the rest of the points into sneak. As for the perk, I went with Bloody Mess for some extra damage. And then I do to Jessup what Benny did to me, but I was more efficient. The other can, though, made me reload 4 times cause I just had to quick save in the middle of an acrobatic stabby stab. Which once again reminds me that letting enemies quiet down and then targeting their center of mass is a strategy I should really pay more attention to, but to be honest, headshots are enticing. I got Benny's lighter, Jessup's bandana, and the chairman job offer notes, all important memorabilia for a man with unfinished business. Outside, the other cans weren't too pleased, but 5 reloads and 2 deaths later, and I got my shit together. Though I gotta say, one of the reloads was so amusing. The dude just perfectly crouched at the right time, even I couldn't help but to smirk. I then untied the 2 hostages, Privates Ackerman and Gilbert, and their lieutenant wouldn't even say thanks. I thought about teaching a lesson, but the privates did thank me, so I let it go. And since we're super close to Hoover Dam, I went there and grabbed the snow globe. Back in Boulder City, and Victor's definitely following me.
Yeah,
Yeah, again, I don't like being stalked. I then got to the 188 trading post, sold some stuff to Samuel, and decided to grab the Eldorado substation marker for later. Back to the 188, the arms merchant bought some more of my junk, and we're now over 7,000 caps. And it's now time to make our way to New Vegas proper. I passed through Cassidy Caravan wreckage and didn't stop until the gun runners. The Vendortron bought the last bit of stuff I didn't need, and I went into the Crimson Caravan Company, where Ringo, as promised, doubles his reward from when I helped him back in Goodsprings. Now, before going into Freeside, I went on to target practice with a triad of meth cows near Field's shack, got that map marker, grabbed a Abilene, and slept for an hour to replenish my health. In Freeside, a petty thug thought he stood a chance against me. He did it. And since this is ambush country, I went to the other one, where a guy waves at you before he and his buddies attack you. Now, I did miss the first shot, but I obliterated him on the second. And then I kinda shot a wall, but obviously that was just to make his buddies piss their pants. With that done, I went into the old Mormon fort, got the third snow globe, and approached the Strip North Gate, where old Ben warns us to not get past the Securitron greeters without talking to them first, knowing a squatter would spawn in for the Securitrons to show us what happens when we don't talk with them. I did their job for them. No one cared. I then passed the cap check and Victor is back. He's just an AI that can roam between Securitrons. Great. He goes on to tell me that Mr. House is dying to meet us, so I go over there immediately.
I have to ask, now that you've reached your destination, what do you make of what you see?
Dude, you told me to come here straight away. I barely had time to look at Gamora. How about you ask me that after I roam a bit? Anyways, the plot unfolds. Mr. House reveals himself to be the one that hired the Mojave Express to have the platinum chip delivered to him. He tells us that Benny betrayed his trust and that we can do to him whatever we please as long as the chip gets to its rightful owner, and that he will quadruple the original reward. Nice. Before leaving the Lucky 38, I went to the cocktail lounge and grabbed yet another snow globe. Once outside, an NCR trooper has a message for us from Ambassador Crocker, but right now, we're too busy for that. And Billy, he's got jokes.
My hotel room is so small. When I put the key in the lock, I broke the window.
Okay, Billy. Anyways, I grabbed all the free magazines I could, and to the tops we go. The greeter asked me to disarm, and sure, why not? After all, we'll have our own guns returned to us in no time. First thing I do is introduce myself to Swank, the chairman's number 2, and to let him know that Benny's doing a big mistake in trying to cross Mr. House. Obviously, Swank needs some proof, but between the cigarette butts, the holotapes we've collected, and Jessup's precious inventory, it's no wonder that Swank starts to believe us. However, he still needs something more concrete. So, he gives us a key to Benny's room, returns our guns, and keeps Benny busy while we go on our merry way to the 13th floor. And over there, we find a whole Securitron that just cannot say no. A couple hits from the Gobby turn yes man into why man. I go back to the casino and notice that the quest marker is insisting that I go back to Benny's room. Well, lo and behold, yes man, Mr. Failsafe is already up and running. So I exhaust his dialogue to get all the information I need and go back to Swank, who's now certain that the chairman are gonna be in dipshit if Mr. House won't have this resolved appropriately. I tell him I'll take care of it, or in this case that I'll take care of Benny, and Swank agrees to send him to his room. And like a spoiled child whose timeout feels like playtime since they're surrounded by their favorite toys, Benny's chill and smile suddenly vanishes when Courier 6 comes by. It's almost as if he had seen a corpse rise from the grave. Hey, buddy, I know you didn't really miss, but quite paradoxically, you kinda actually did. And speaking of missing, that's exactly what I did the first time, but on the second, I made sure he didn't dig my accuracy. And now, with the platinum chip and Maria now in my possession, we hit level 9. I round up Sneak to 50 and dump the rest of the points into Medicine. Then I go back to Swank and congratulate him on his new promotion. Once outside, Alario lets us know that we've unlocked the Sugar Daddy DLC. All of our crimes against the Legion have been forgotten. And we even got some jewelry out of it, and I'm not gonna say no to either forgiveness or to free gifts. We're also invited to go and pay him a visit, but I'm not done with the strip just yet. Time to go into Vault's 21 gift shop, pickpocket Sarah's room key, and get ourselves yet another snow globe. Back to Robert Edwin House. I deliver him the chip, get me the 1,000 caps reward, and get the privilege of seeing the unskippable Securiturn demonstration once again. He then tasks me with infiltrating Fortification Hill, but clarifies that we are not to harm Kaiser.
I don't want you harming a hair on that man's head, assuming you could find one.
He goes on to explain that we'll be using the chip to activate a certain Securiturn army hidden under the forts. This triggers level 10, I keep on making my Stimpaks more useful and take on the Fight the Power perk for even more extra damage. In Cottonwood Cove, Lucullus has to wear a hazmat suit due to the radiation, which is a lovely touch. I tell him to start rowing, he tells me to start disarming, and before I go into Kaiser's stand I meet Siri, a slave that's in charge of making healing powder for the Legion. Now, how the Legion managed to conquer God knows exactly how many tribes and couldn't get a single person to get the healing powder recipe right is completely beyond me, but through a near mythical survival skill check of 20, I did fix that for them. Meeting Kaiser is realizing that while everyone's telling stories about the burned man, they're led by a bald man telling stories. After he lists every single accomplishment I made after dribbling past death itself, he's finally ready to open up and tells us of his lifelong dream of feeling the ground shake. In the weather monitoring station, both my weapons and the platinum chip were returned to me. Kaiser wants us to destroy whatever's down in this bunker. I use the platinum chip to open up the way, access the Securiturn vault, and Mr. House pops up on a screen, reminding me that I should side with him instead of Kaiser. And yeah, I do prefer to battle alongside an army of AI toasters rather than a Scottish marching band that forgot the bagpipes. And everything went extremely smoothly. The protectrons are slow, the turrets don't move. This was a breeze. I upgrade the Securiturn army to its Mark II, and Kaiser's all giggly because he felt the ground shake.
I felt the ground shake a while ago.
He then tasks me with destroying Mr. House. I got to level 11 before I could move, distributed the points between medicine and guns, and took a nap on one of their tents. Knowing what Mr. House would ask of me next, I simply got to it first. I fast traveled to Field's shack and went on to meet George, the boomer that's not really part of the boomers. George wants to bet 300 caps that I will not survive a bombardment, but instead I bet with George that he cannot outrun the gobby. And I won both bets. We all love the left hill, and as usual, yeah, I had to spend a couple Stimpaks, but we got to the gates first try. The boomer guards in disbelief. I told them to get good, and Raquel informed us that their eldest, Mother Pearl, wishes to speak to us. I agree, and here comes the nonsensical spiel on how long it took them for someone to finally visit them. After all, it's been 5 long years of bombarding visitors. Anyways, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, so I greet them exactly how they greeted me. I even extended my courtesy. Just like the boomer guard's first howitzer shots, I too missed my targets. Now, it was funny that I could hit Raquel right before she left the building, but this took a bit too long for my liking. It's not like it was being hard, I was just not being that accurate. But 7 reloads later, and both Raquel, the guard, and Pearl all met their end. Outside, another boomer guard came at me but didn't stand a chance, and then I started going after the named NPCs. I got the boomer teacher on the second attempt, Doc Argyle on the first, treated one of his patients cause I'm not a monster. Oh, and then I killed another one of his patients for cosmic balance. I then went into the Nellis Boomer Museum, got the snow globe, and went into the hangars where the worst of it happened. But by it, I mean my marksmanship. I was absolutely terrible against Loyal, not Jack though, consistently. 14 attempts, and not one of the 13 reloads was for Jack. But not missing against Loyal, holy hell man, I have no words. Other than being stubborn pays off. Oh, and quick saves are goated. Before leaving, I made sure to get some great loot, plenty of combat armors, plenty of ammo, and Mr. Cuddles, cause fuck Lindsay, but only on this one. I then repair my newly acquired armor, equip it, and went back to the strip where Emily's near the Lucky 38. She's gonna ask me to bug the casino for the followers of the apocalypse, but I don't want to. So, I go to her to get it over with, and as I'm leaving, she has the audacity to ask me if I have reconsidered. Girl, I just told you no. At least give it a day. I'm still gonna say no, but sheesh, so needy. Back to Senor Casa and Robert Edwin super happy about his upgraded toys. He asks me to try and get the boomers on his side or to make sure they don't sign a similar treaty with either the NCR or the Legion. So I inform him that me and the boomers have an extremely enriching cultural exchange that kinda needs to be described as at least a polite disagreement. He then goes on to say that cats are extinct, but he never played Fallout 4 and hey, it's on the other coast, to be fair. Nevertheless, everyone's favorite cyborg mummy decides to promise me an Employee of the Month badge if I can figure out what the Omertas are scheming. I agree to it and Emily, shut up! In Gamora, the greeter goes on about he would love to babysit the courier's arsenal at least once. So I one-up it and invite him to instead see the Gobby in action.
This is going to be fun.
Indeed. I then missed the first shot, but on the second attempt, I managed to turn the greeter into a puzzle. And then I miss another shot, which means the greeter's back and this went on for a while. The whole first floor, I mean. 9 reloads later and I'm finally stepping beyond the reception. But in my defense, these guys really outperformed themselves here. On the rest of this floor, I only had to reload once, but then again, they simply weren't being as unpredictable near the tables. In the next section, a headshot takes care of the Omerta thug that carries Zawara's club key. And in hindsight, I don't even know why I looted the key, someone just opened the door for me. Now, all I really need to do over here is to take care of Big Sal. I don't need to bother with the whole place, so I went to the upper floor, and if there's one thing I kept on hearing from fighting off the greeter until Big Sal was the same quotes. That's some shit right there. And even though half of them were talking about my accuracy, this last bit only needed 30 reloads. Big Sal goes down, and as I'm leaving, ready to go back to Mr. House, one thing came to mind. But first, I hit level 12, dumped the points into guns, and took the finesse perk. So, I've raised havoc in 2 out of the 3 open casinos, so might as well pay a visit to the Ultra Lux as well. And I'm really enjoying having an excuse to use the Gobby, so I'm gonna take down their leaders here as well. And everything went much more smooth, but nowhere near perfect, especially when you remember that whenever any of the White Gloves uses a melee weapon, they dash at you as if they were trying to do a long and a high jump at the same time, while going for bonus points in contortion. It still took me 8 reloads and 1 death to get the first area done with. Midway, I even decided to use the Mysterious Magnum for just a bit. Back to the Gobby, and Mortimer got a really bad headache. I unlocked the Lord Death perk and went on to the Gourmand to greet Marjorie. I seriously don't know how I missed the first 2 times, but yet again, 3rd time's the charm. And then I backed my way into a corner where a whole shit show ensued. 14 reloads, including hits that I thought were misses, a lot more than I'd like to admit. I then miss once again for good luck as a food supplier leaves. And as he cowers, I fail once, hit the second, but don't notice that I did. Man, this runs all over the place, and as I'm leaving, I noticed another White Glove aggroed, so I took him down. Back to the Lucky 38, I took a nap in the presidential suite, and then went to the penthouse where I sold all the snow globes I have to Jane. I became 12,000 cups richer and went on to Mr. House to tell him that whatever the Omertas were scheming before, they sure as hell cannot pull it now. And for our next task, we are to destroy the entire Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel. House says it so casually though. Yeah, just go by your lonesome and annihilate the by far best equipped faction in the game. They only have the best weapons too, and man, I hate fighting their turrets. So I have a much better plan than the mindless violence I put most of the casinos through. Anyways, I fast traveled back to Sloan, bitch slapped my fair share of red scorpions, and before reaching the locked door, the tin cans were already onto me. The paladin tells me that if I strip down to my underwear, they will do my laundry, and that they'll even put all my belongings in a chest. All I gotta do is meet Paladin Ramos, so I accept. Ramos then tells me that all I need to do is talk with the Elder, so I accept. The Elder then tells me that all I need to do is deal with an NCR Ranger and that I'll be having an explosive collar around my neck, so I don't have a choice. But I did get my weapons back. Dobson, for some reason, thanks my first 2 attempts. And I didn't even notice that I actually hit him both times until I was editing. On my 3rd attempt though, he went down in 1 hit. I smashed his radio for good measure, went back to the Elder, and he started asking stupid questions. How do you know he won't be missed? It's Dobson. How do you know others won't come looking for him? I've done this quest before, they won't. Did you just make matters worse? No, McNamara, and if you cared, you'd have sent one of your patrols, so skip to the part where you call me a brute, that can be helpful.
It would seem you are a brute. But even a brute can be of use.
And dude, it wasn't even that long ago that we saw an NCR Ranger go down against a recruit legionary. But okay, NPCs are leveled, we all know. Anyways, McNamara, Harden, and Taggart have something awesome in common. Their keycards. I pickpocket all 3 of them, use them to generate a self-destruct password, begin the sequence and run! The turrets did kill me once, but a handful of stimpaks did the trick right after. I then went back to the gun runners to get some more ammo, sell some junk, have Mick repair my Centurion helmet, and I repaired my own combat armor, cause that's expensive. And I also did some trading with Julie, Chet, and Doc Mitchell. Next stop, Camp McCarran, cause I have not forgotten what the cons did to me, or how much they bitch about Bitter Springs. What exactly happened to them that they weren't doing to anyone else they were encountering? And if I'm going to Red Rock Canyon, I'm going through Fiend Territory, and Major Thathri has 3 bounties I'd very much like to collect. So, with the new quest on my log, our current sights are now set on Violet, Driver Nephi, and Cook. And the first of those that I encountered was Cook, but not without having to reload 5 times prior to meeting him due to the number of fiends in this place. Although, to be fair, that's also taking into account all of Cook's friends. The standoff between the courier and the major psychopath. Now that wasn't the best showcase of marksmanship either. 3 reloads later, I obliterate him completely and oh man, I mangled his head. So, you know what? I'm gonna try it again. Let's get all the 3 heads in great shape, since that's how Thathri will be able to recognize them. Although, unfortunately, this means I missed 5 more times. But I finally got Cook and put his head on my inventory. Moving on, this got me to level 13, I got guns to 100 and put more points into medicine. And then I went after Driver Nephi, and even though the whole battle against him and his man had me miss a total of 4 times, things actually went really great on this one. There were so many one-shots, the Gobi truly reigned supreme. So, with the second bounty ready to be collected, it's time to go for Violet and her mongrels. In total, I only missed 3 times before being one-on-one against Violet. But then the same thing happened as against Cook. I wanted the head in good shape, sometimes I didn't miss but I thought I did. Long story short, I got the job done in my 8th attempt. And who do we find on our way to Red Rock Canyon? More Legion assassins. I took down 3 out of the 4 immediately, missed when the 4th got behind cover. Had another 2 misses, plus 2 deaths. Noticed the fire geckos coming at me, took down the 4th guy. And the geckos, those weren't an issue at all. In the canyon, the first thing I did was to replenish my health, and the second was to show the gobby ammo to Papa Khan's brain. And this simply ended up just being more of the same, really. Except now I actually feel vindicated for Goodsprings. I go back to Major Daughtry, and he was quite happy to know that some of the Fiend's most messed up members are now completely out of the picture, and this was enough for us to get to level 14. I put the points into medicine and took the toughness perk. I then went back to Mick and Ralph's and spent over 20,000 caps repairing my combat armor, Kenturian helmets, and Gobi rifle. And the dumb thug that ambushes you in Freeside respawned and followed me into the shop. I guess he wanted more screen time than he usually gets. So yeah, he got to see the Gobi again. Back to Mr. House, and he finally acknowledges the scope of what he tasked us with.
Single-handedly destroying a Brotherhood of Steel bunker is quite an accomplishment.
Our next task is to make sure that Kimball is not sniped down by a Legion assassin when he visits Hoover Dam to deliver a speech to boost his troops' morale. Now, I usually don't care about Kimball, but I'm already making this challenge way longer than it needed to be, so what's a little cherry on top? Once outside, Alario shows up to ask me what I need, and that was the perfect reminder that I just had a Legion assassins after me. I then bought some more 308 ammo, traveled to Hoover Dam, had Ranger Grant fill me in with all the details I need, and it's time.
Hey-o!
Oh, wrong dude.
Finished your security sweep?
Yup, sure did. Kimball arrives soon after, makes his way to the stage, and as he's yapping, all I can think of is, how in the great fuck is delivering a speech to an attendance of like 10 to 15 people, depending on whether you count his stuff or not, is gonna raise morale? Either way, I figured the best way to prevent a Legion assassin from getting to Kimball. When I tried to run, too many of the Rangers were salty, so in the second attempt, I just did to them what I did to Kimball. Well, to most of them. Yeah, I got greedy, I wanted to save Stimpaks, but I easily got out of there in my third try. Back to Mr. House, and my master plan completely flopped. I was supposed to tell House that I did it because the motherfucker would have raised taxes. Well, I must have messed up something. But well, it doesn't matter, because I also thought it would be funny to have you guys not being able to predict which of the endings I was going for. Mr. House then asked us to install an override chip in the Eldorado substation, so obviously I used the platinum chip to access his private chambers. Why? I then pretended that I did this for the faction that wouldn't have me if I begged just to fuck with him. And then I showed him how cool the Gobi looks up close. In the substation, after I installed the chip, every single NCR trooper in the vicinity came in hella pissed. And I missed a hit. And on the second attempt, no one came in. But I also couldn't fast travel because they were all aggroed on the outside. 5 misses and a ton of headshots later, and they're toast. Now, I can't go back to Mr. House. The NCR is beyond pissed about Kimball, and Kaiser's been sending assassins after me for a while. So all I can do is make a certain someone an offer they cannot refuse.
I am so sorry about last time. Let me make it up to you.
Thank you. I cheated you again, but I don't feel like waiting for a couple days until you respawn. Anyways, I told Yes Man about House's demise, the tribes he wanted us to meet, and told him to join us in the Lucky 38. But I've got to admit, I was a bit disappointed that he didn't have any unique dialogue about me having installed the override chip in the substation already. But alas, this whole thing brings me to level 15. I make my Stimpaks near perfect, and Yes Man then informs us that the Legion have started their campaign for the second battle of Hoover Dam. In the dam, I first tried to outrun both the NCR and the Legion, but since hating me is the only thing they agree with, yeah, no, I'll have to try a different approach. Called Gobi. I managed to snipe the first couple NCR members, missed the first can, but took care of the others and the first batch of Kenturians without issue. Then, and also on the second attempt, I took care of the NCR sniper. As for the second batch of Kenturians, they took me 4 tries, but it's once again one of those where the number of the attempts don't mean it was hard. It just means that they're not waiting in position for me to get a perfect headshot. In the offices, the NCR heavy troopers were easily annihilated. I installed the second override chip, this time in the dam's power plant. Yes Man took over. I ran like a maniac and decided to completely destroy both the dam and the Securitron army. Well, the dam is now just cement. It's still there, but it's useless now. Also, who needs TV on wheels when you're a courier that hasn't missed a single time? At least that's how the safe file perceives it, and who am I to argue against computer logic? I then made a run for the east side of the dam, kept on running, and the game reminded me that no. This isn't a can you sprint, it's a can you not miss, so fine. 3 deaths plus 10 reloads, 10 on top for the third batch of 3 Centurions, and only now can I outrun the others. Although I did help the remaining Securitrons on the way, which after 12 loading screens you would too. And finally, we've reached the final test, the Legate's camp. First thing I do is to take care of one of the Legion snipers first try, even though he was moving, and right after, see that static Praetorian? I missed him 5 times. Fucking hell, man. However, I managed to get the other sniper first try. I then berserked into the Power Fist Bros and decided that I don't need to talk with Linnaeus. I just need perfect marksmanship. But since I didn't even see his health bar the first time, I took some Steady and Psycho, and that did it to see it, but I missed one of the shots. So for the future attempt, I add buff out to the mix before I quick save, and I still absolutely sucked for the next 8th attempt. But then I finally got Linnaeus to half health, which means he's gonna run like a little bitch for a bit. That gives me some leeway to miss 4 times against the other Power Fist Bros that came to fight me. No biggie. It's always a matter of when, never if. And then comes a ton more enemies towards me, but we've got plenty of space between us. The gobby is fast, and I just need to one-shot most, if not all of them. Though, 11 reloads go by, with some quick saves near the end of them, and Linnaeus finally emerges by himself. Good. I missed 3 times, but on the 4th, he barely put in a couple steps. Legate Linnaeus is down. But I know there's some idiot somewhere trying to snipe me down. I tracked him and took him out pretty easily. I also took the Legate's helmet, didn't equip it cause it's not as strong as the Centurion one, and went on to meet General Lee Oliver. He is quite the character, comes in doing the slowest of walks, proceeds to make sure we know every single swear words of the English language, the cigar is a lie, and I died first try. So fuck it, Steampack, Stealth Boy, Psycho, Mentats, Medics, I'm gonna take him out myself. And then I do, and so can you beat Fallout New Vegas without missing? Of course you can. Check the playlist for more challenges, like the video and subscribe if you want more of these. I'm always open for ideas and feedback. I'd like to give a special thanks to Causal Loop for the idea, and a huge shout out to Steve Whittle and to John Walker for their support of the channel. And to you! So, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed, I hope I'll see you on the next one, and I hope you have a good one. Bye!
And I guess I'll see you around. We accomplished a lot together. It was fun. Take care.